It looks sort of like a Halloween costume. I've got all the fringe going on. I've got the the tassels or the chain. I'm connected. Hi, my name's Mark and welcome to the channel. Today I'm sitting down to do a sea glass make-along update. You may be participating in this make-along with me, or you may have heard about it from other videos here on the channel. We're about a month into the make-along, so I wanted to sit down, share my progress, answer a couple of questions, and ask to hear about your progress. So if you're interested, stick around and let's get into it. For this make-along, I chose to make the sea glass cardigan, so I'm keeping mine in my Steamline luggage trunk. I showed this bag in a video way back about all of my different project bags, and it's a luggage piece I bought that I didn't use for years. It felt like a foolish purchase, and I thought I don't want to mess it up, but eventually I tried to find ways to use it. So I've got a lot of colors in my sea glass cardigan, and this has been a really good solution. You'll see it's a little messy, but it's been a good solution to keep my colors in order, keep them, for the most part, untangled, and it's been a pretty good way for me to take the project as I travel around. Granted, as the sweater gets bigger and bigger, it makes more sense for this to sit at home and to take smaller projects with me as I travel about or just go to work each day. You probably remember how long it took me to get to this combination of colors and this background color. But now that I'm here, I'm really happy with it. I still have my bright jewel tones, but my main color is muted enough that when I try this on, I'm happy with the look. I at first was worried that wearing this sweater, I would feel a little bit like Joseph and his coat of many colors, and it would just be too much, especially on my frame, but I think I like it so far. So in a few minutes, I'll try it on and show you where it's at for now. And I also wanted to cover a couple of other things, answer a couple of questions, and also share a finished project from my mentor, Peg. You may already know about Peg from other stories I've told. She is a fabulous fiber artist, and she teaches really great classes at Around the Table Yarns, the local shop that I go to in Shaker Heights, Ohio. So Peg wanted to jump into this make-along, but instead of following one of the existing sea glass patterns, she adapted. She took yarn that she had and instead created a sort of capelet. So with her permission, I'm sharing this finished project with you, and I know some people are pretty speedy and have already reached the end of their sea glass projects, so if you're someone who's already finished or you're close to finishing, I'd also love to share your projects in future videos. So for now, let's take a look at Peg's work. All right, I'm here on Ravelry, and Peg's handle here is Raging Wool, and Peg is really good about putting her projects up on Ravelry. She has 100 projects listed. So here's her sea glass capelet. I think this just looks fantastic. So I think it kind of started like the cowl, but instead of being a tube that's seamed together, Peg wanted something that could go over the shoulders completely, and so she ended up with this capelet. Something I really love is this detail she added along the front to cover the jog between each row that exists with the color changes. Peg is also great about putting up good, clear pictures. We even get a picture of the wrong side of the work, which I've been trying to remind myself to take pictures of the wrong side of my work, especially when I do things that are stranded. And then we've even got some swatch pictures here. I think it's so valuable to share progress pictures along the way. If you have pictures of your color combinations, if you have pictures of swatches, if you have trial and error, if you started a project and you didn't like what was happening, share that too. I think all of this is so valuable when other people are considering making an existing project, or, like Peg did in this case, taking part of a pattern or a stitch combination and then adapting it to be a better fit or just a garment that suits you and your needs better. So a big thank you to Peg. Thank you for participating in the make-along. Thank you for letting me share your pictures and your project here. If you're a Ravelry user, go follow Peg, go see what else she's up to, and go look at some of her patterns that she's designed that she has available on Ravelry. Now, as this make-along continues, I know people will finish their projects at various times, and we'll keep the Zoom events, we'll keep other videos here on the channel going through at least March, and I'd love to share your progress occasionally here on the channel. I appreciate that several people have been tagging me in pictures they post on Instagram or using the hashtags, as well as all the people who participate in the various discussion threads on Ravelry. I love taking a look at what's going on, and I love seeing the variety of creativity and the colors that represent people, the combinations of yarn, the color palettes, the execution of all of these different patterns. It's exciting, and community is my favorite part of this whole YouTube endeavor, so keep it coming. So here's my request. If you have a project in progress or finished that you'd like me to share here on the channel, please send me a couple pictures of it to my email, makermarkknits@gmail.com, and in the email, be sure to let me know your first name as you'd like it shared on the channel and a little bit about the project. And I think for the people who aren't on Instagram, people that aren't as comfortable navigating through Ravelry, it'll be great for everyone to be able to catch up with the variety of what's going on in this make-along. So again, if you have a project you're proud of, no matter what point you're in, send me a couple pictures and let me know if you're willing for me to share it here in a future video. As this is a check-in, I'll take a moment to try my sweater on and really check in. I'll talk about my progress so far and show you how things are working out at this point in the process. All right. This is me so far. It looks sort of like a Halloween costume. I've got all the fringe going on. I've got the the tassels or the chain. I'm connected. So I've got, I don't know how much more, maybe 5 or 6, 7 inches of body remaining, and then I'll do my ribbing, and then I'll be on to my sleeves. As I mentioned earlier, I initially thought this was going to be too bright, too much for me, but now that it's on, and now that I can see that base color and how it plays out, I really do think that it's colorful, it's exciting, without being in your face. So I'm happy with it so far. A couple of notes about the progress. I tried the sweater on when I hit the point of enough increasing, and I found that it was a little too snug under the arms, so I kept increasing and I kept adding length to the sweater. So I pivoted off course and decided I would keep following the instructions for the next size up. After getting to the correct end of the increases for that size, I tried it back on, and then I was happy with the fit. I felt like I had plenty of space under the arms and also plenty of fabric to gather under those arms and still fit me well. And I'm definitely happy with the amount of ease I have at this point. I know once I cut this open and add my button band or my shawl collar, I'll have a little bit more coverage, but even so, it's fitting well pre-block, which is a good situation to be in. I know during the swatching process and the planning for this make-along, I went back and forth between the idea of steeking the sweater, making it in the round and then cutting it open, or just sliding the stitches back to the start of the needle and cutting my ends. And you'll see I did a combination. At the beginning, I was cutting my ends, sliding the work back to the start, but the ends were getting annoying. They were annoying me, and I did try to tie some of them off. It worked well, and I've seen a lot of you who are doing that method, creating that faux I-cord, and it's a great solution. But for the bulk of the yarn I'm using, I wasn't super happy with that solution anymore, so you'll see I have, I don't know, 20 rows or so at the top where I was cutting my ends, and then I joined things. So I took away those edge stitches at each end, and I added a steek panel. I've talked about this before, and I've had a couple people ask, when I adapt something to be in the round and steeked, cut open instead of worked flat like a cardigan, what do I have to change? And it's pretty simple. All I'm doing is I'm adding a bridge of stitches. In this case, I added 7 stitches. So I have 3 that belong to one side, 3 that belong to the other, and then a stitch up the center. And all of those stitches sit outside the rest of the pattern. So whatever color work, whatever texture I have going on, I finish my normal stitch count, and then I have 7 stitches set off between 2 markers. I think I can show you on the above head camera as I'm wearing it. So I have 2 markers here between my fingers, and you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stitches. So this is my steek panel, and I'm trying to keep the alternation of colors with my base color, my main color, at the edge, each edge of the steek panel. And that's where I'll pick up for my button band or my shawl collar. And then that still leaves me with 5 stitches here for reinforcing and then trimming, cutting it open. And then on the inside, it gets a little tangled, a little crazy, but I just have my colors sort of climbing up, twisting around each other on the inside of that steek. And that whole portion will be cut away later. So I'll most likely reinforce with a sewing machine. Also a channel here and here, and then I'll cut so this whole center will eventually be gone. And I promise when that time comes, I'll do it all on camera in case you'd like to do the same thing for future projects that you prefer to work in the round. So that's about it for my progress. I'm happy with the fabric, I'm happy with the fit, and I like the color. I don't have many super colorful, super scrappy sweaters, so I'm glad that I'll have this one added to my wardrobe. Now to address a couple of questions and share a couple of suggestions from various people participating in this year's Make-Along. First, about tension. I know that in this journey, taking time to swatch, taking time to work any of these sea glass projects, it's a great excuse to practice your one-by-one color work, and I think no matter how many other color work projects you do in the future, this will benefit that. I know it's true for me. I love stranded color work, so having this one-by-one is good practice. It's like as a new knitter doing a one-by-one ribbed scarf or a whole sweater that's done in ribbing. It's great practice to shift back and forth between those knits and purls. So same here, it's great to have every stitch alternating with 2 colors. So one of those things that comes up with this color work is tension. We talked in other videos about the different holds. You can hold both strands continental, you can throw both strands English style from your right side, or you can hold one strand continental, one strand English, and do a combination of the 2. If this is the style you've chosen, you'll probably notice that your tension is different between those 2 hands. For me, and for many English knitters, the tension you get knitting English is typically a little more sturdy, a little tighter than knitting continental. As a continental knitter, and I know this is true of a few of my colleagues who knit continental, our tension is usually a little bit loose. Maybe our gauge doesn't quite work out, so we have to go down a needle size or pay attention to snug up that tension as continental knitters. So if you're finding that one color is truly receding into your work, while the other stitch looks like a standard size, and you are doing that combination style, be careful to see how tight those English style stitches are and how loose those continental stitches might be. Someone brought this up in one of the Zoom sessions, and then Jessica sent me an email saying the same thing happened to her, where some of the stitches were just receding too much, and then she realized because she's doing a combination, the English style knits are much tighter than the continental style. So as you work, thank you, Jessica, for this recommendation. If you're finding your tension is uneven between the combination style, you can pay attention to keep those English stitches generous and make sure to snug up any of your continental style stitches. The next thing I wanted to share is a recommendation from Diane. When we were on Zoom in the last week or 2, she shared a very cool yarn holder, sort of a dual yarn holder. I'll put it up on the screen here, that she's been using to manage her yarn during this project. And she did make a modification to add stronger magnets. These 2 dowels are suspended by magnets, and she found that she needed a stronger connection to keep everything affixed. I'll put the links to these items in the description box below, and it looks like a nice solution. So for those of you who have a good setup where you can sit in a living room or a crafting space and you're looking for a different way to manage yarn or a better way to manage yarn, This was Diane's recommendation. That's about it for today. Make sure to keep your eyes peeled for the next newsletter. It will have November Zoom dates. Also, we'll have December Zoom events, and I'm planning a couple of special videos here on the channel related to the sea glass patterns and other things to go along with this make-along. If you're willing to share your progress in a future video, feel free to send me those pictures to my email, makermarkknits@gmail.com, and I would be thrilled to share what you're making with the whole community. I'm blown away that this make-along has gotten as much interest as it has. We have over 300 people who have signed up to take part in some way, and this is the best part. I love, love, love getting to know you all and getting to craft with you. So thanks so much for making this a reality for me, and as always, thank you for spending a bit of time with me here on the channel. Happy knitting, happy crocheting, happy crafting to you, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Bye.